What's going on, guys, and welcome back. Today we're going to go over why I think that you should give Wind Piercer a shot. So, as always, most of my content is it's unscripted, so if it gets a little long-winded, I will always leave the chapters down below, so you can skip ahead to the fight if you'd like. That being said, let's get on into it. So, Wind Piercer, throw your axe and dash toward the enemy to attack them. The axe will always return if the enemy is not hit, and it always refunds your spirit or your fury used. With the next tier, when the axe does strike the enemy, it will continue striking the enemy for a little bit after you deal the attack, and then the dash attack and finishing blow are enhanced to basically just attack more. Then the last tier, it increases the duration of the spinning axe, but it also consumes one more fury charge or spirit charge. I will say, I've toyed with the idea of just removing this, right, and using it like this. But honestly, when I use Wind Piercer, when I do use it, the additional duration of the axe spinning, it really is worth that one extra charge because of the damage itself, especially if it's on an exhausted enemy, right? So if you use it right when you are about to exhaust an enemy, and then it brings them into the exhausted state, giving you that exhausted damage bonus on the axe, it's really, really good there. Granted, if you're playing hardcore and you can't see their stamina bar, it is what it is. But anyway, so the other thing that should be noted is, and I think the majority of people use Wind Piercer this way, is I think a lot of people just use Wind Piercer to accumulate status effects. So you see additional points in this skill increase the attribute damage and status effect accumulation, right? I don't highlight it in this fight just because I think that, again, the vast majority of people know this. I think that people will just, either use a fire enhancer, or they'll use the Furious Bandit set, right? Or they'll use Wuyo's Breeze, which these are all good sets and good options, right? Wuyo's Breeze is really cool because the earth attributes, when you turn them into stone, or when they just take increased damage from being inflicted with earth attributes. This is really a good option, right? If you hit Wuyo's Breeze, or you hit a Furious Bandit charge, and then you hit Wind Piercer, it accumulates the status really, really fast, and you can burn enemies down, or you can just inflict status on them insanely quick with this. But my favorite way to use Wind Piercer personally is to close the distance on an enemy and allow you to just keep your DPS high, right? So a lot of enemies like Reese, right, when she's flying away and then she floats down, or in her first phase when she floats away from you, and I do show this a couple times in my Flash Cutter video, or when the Shaka, the big beast dog, when he kind of breaks poise and steps away from you, or in the fight that I have later with Bringkus, you'll see once you brutal attack an enemy, they usually will backstep, or they'll dash away from you to regain their stamina bar, right? They do a little animation. So really my favorite way to use Wind Piercer is to close the distance on an enemy, to continually do DPS to them, as well as you don't have to waste your stamina bar sprinting towards them, right? Or sprinting towards them and then using additional stamina to attack with a Wind Chaser or with Outrage, right? Plus, again, if you're in New Game Plus or New Game Plus Plus, you regain stamina when you use Fury skills or Spirit skills, right? So, again, this is a good way to close the distance on your enemy, continue keeping your DPS high, right? And then thirdly, it allows you to regain stamina while also dealing additional damage. And then again, you're going to have that stamina to, when you do close the distance, to either dodge, right, if your enemy does a quick attack after regaining stamina, or whatever the case. And again, I will say, I understand 3 spirit is a lot, right? But if you use it just to close the distance really, and you use the skill sparingly, it really isn't that much in the grand scheme. Because again, after you continuously attack, you're going to gain that spirit back, right? Especially if you're break dodging, if you're using Howling Blade, and you getting all of that spirit accumulation from your damage negation, right? So you're going to get that spirit back a lot faster than you think. But again, mainly I use it to close the distance, but for the vast majority of people, the attribute accumulation is really the best part about this skill. But one thing real quick before we get into the fight, I want to say, again, it is very strong for attribute effects, right? But you don't have to do that, right? So if you like using Furious Bandit, right, or if you like using fire, whatever the case, but you're like, hey, you know, it makes it a little too easy, just don't use the skill, right? Or decrease the points you put in the skill, right? So that way you can still use it, but don't feel like it's too broken to where you're like, look, it's just not fun. I destroy the boss too fast, and it's just like, you know? So that would be my recommendation. But that's all I have to say about Wind Piercer. So please enjoy the fight, and I will see you guys in the next video.